Hello, everyone, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. Tonight, I got a great broadcast for y'all, and it's going to be good. It's going to be real good. I know what I forgot. Anyway, I didn't forget you people because tonight I'm a short guest host tonight. David Null is not feeling so well tonight, so I'm winging it by myself. So there we go. But I am not going to disappoint you because, as always, I'm going to provide you with a great show, and we are live. So you got to not worry about some of my mistakes and my mispronunciations because I am king of mispronunciating everything. And besides that, the air conditioner was on. So with that, I'll shut that off and I'll suffer through the heat just for you people for a little while here. Anyway, so if that's the case, but it's all good. Tonight we're going to talk about the Coeur d'Alene Indians. Yeah, we're going to try to do that, and we're going to do some stories, and we're going to do a few other things, as much as I can. But anyway, I had a great trip out west, and I went on vacation. I learned a lot of stuff, and I picked up this really good book. I don't know if any of you have already seen this book because it wasn't made very often. I picked it up in an antique store. It was printed in, 1982. So if you were back in 1982, you could have probably picked this up. But apparently not many people did. And so tonight, we're going to bring it to all of you. I'm probably going to have more people to watch or learn about the Coeur d'Alene Indians than ever thought before, because I didn't know anything about the Coeur d'Alene Indians. Actually, I didn't even know there was Indians called Coeur d'Alenes, and the Spokanes and the what is it called, the Catskills, Catskills or whatever. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of Indians names that I did not know. And tonight we are going to learn about those Indians. And I thought Coeur d'Alene was a city in Idaho. See what little I know? But in looking at history, you're going to learn a lot of stuff. Hey, Witchy Moon's in the house. I don't know, but anyway, thank you for coming. Witch Moon, I appreciate it, and I'm sure the rest of the Soul Tribe will be coming soon. They're probably over at Ryder Lee's watching a great show he's got on tonight. I was really interested in watching that myself. So, but I'll catch it up on the rerun. Not a problem. And a big shout out to Ryder Lee because he does some great shows. I got to get him back on my show one of these days here. But anyhow, we're going to talk about the Coeur d'Alenes. And nothing like getting down to it and talking about they were from way back when. Anyway, they're a kind of a unique tribe. They spoke a definitive different language than the other Indians. Even though they were very similar and traded with them, they had their own distinct language, which was kind of odd. So getting down to it, we are going to go with this here, and I am gonna share the screen with you. We might as well get right into it. And let's go with this. Share the screen. There we go. And as you can see, there's the Coeur d'Alene Indians. And the Coeur d'Alene tribe has a current enrollment. This is today's enrollment of 2,190 members. The tribe has sovereign authority on a reservation covering 345,000 acres of mountains, lakes, timber, and farmland, spanning the western edge of the northern Rocky Mountains and the abundant Palouse country. The tribe, like all tribes in America, has a government based on executive, legislative, and judicial branches. The tribal council has 7 members and operates on a parliamentary system. Okay, let's see if I can do this right. Oops, I did that wrong. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'm going to do this. And I'm gonna because I screwed that one up. Oh yeah, I gotta find the. There we go. Okay. And then see, this is where I need a co-host. Yes. Anyway, back to screen share. Driving the bus, you know. And there we go. The tribe, like all tribes in America, has a government based. Oh, I read that. Parliamentary system with members elected by tribal vote and the chairman elected by vote on the council. Although he or she would serve as a chief executive, the chairman has one vote and the council does not have veto power. The Coeur d'Alene tribe, and all federally recognized tribes in the United States are sovereign in their own lands. The sovereignty is inherent in the U.S. Constitution, meaning that the tribes were recognized as sovereign before the Constitution was written. Tribes and the U.S. government had a long series of treaties or executive orders established reservations and tribal rights and authorities. Tribal treaty making so exists with the British, French, Dutch, and Spanish governments before the birth of the United States as an independent nation. And it goes on with the government. The name Coeur d'Alene was given to the tribe in the late 18th or 19th century by French traders and trappers. In French, it means heart of an all, referring to the sharpness of the trading skills exhibited by the tribal members in their dealings with visitors. In the ancient tribal language, members called themselves Squamish, meaning the discovered people or those who are found here. Okay. Let's see. So that goes in with that. Let's see. We're going to X this out. Stop sharing. There I am. I'm back again. And don't worry, people. It's a slow night here in Milky Way land. But here's a picture of the tribal lands. Share. There we go. And there we go. These tribal lands traded amongst them with dozens of tribes away from the Pacific coast. Ancient trade routes connected the Coeur d'Alenes with the Nez Perce, the Shoshones, and the Bangkoks, and to the south and southeast. To the east were the tribes of the Great Plains and the vast herds of buffalo. With the coming of the horses, young Coeur d'Alene men journeyed east to hunt buffalo. These journeys, however, were not necessary for survival. They were viewed as adventures and even rites of passage for youth who would emerge into the manhood and into leadership roles. All ancient tribal trades, routes, and paths remain today. In fact, those very same routes are still used all across the country. Today, however, we call those tribal routes interstate highways. The first white people to encounter Coeur d'Alenes were the French trappers and traders. It was one of these Frenchmen who found the tribe to be vastly experienced and skilled at trading, thus the name Coeur d'Alene, meaning heart of an all. The nickname stuck. One Frenchman described the tribe as the greatest traders in the world. And if we can blow this up, we can see how big their territory really is. And this is Idaho, as you can see. And so there they go. So there's some towns. See, there's Coeur d'Alene Lake, which they spent lots of time around. The Coeur d'Alene tribe's aboriginal territory spans more than 5 million acres of today's Washington, Idaho, and Montana. So they had a really big territory here. And now they've been reduced to this little chunk down here. So there you go. First you have what could be almost a state, and now you have just a little bitty spot. Okay. And so we're going to stop sharing because I got to switch screens here. This thing ain't working right tonight, what I wanted to put out. Yeah, there we go. Ancestral lands. Oh, look we got a whole bunch of people in here. Hello, Courtney. Thank you for coming. Elderberry. As you notice, I am alone tonight. David Null, Hawkeye Two Feathers, is off on he's got a headache. Actually, he's got a migraine really bad tonight. So send him much favor and healing. Maybe before we get all done, we will just be quiet and send him a minute's worth of healing energy to make his headache go away. We can do it. AF, hey, how you doing? Scotty boy. Ryder Lee must be all done over there. I got to go catch a show. Susie Q's in the house. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Okay, here, the homeland is still home. I gotta get that. Oh, I gotta share this stuff, or you guys ain't gonna see any of it. And there we go, because I'm driving the bus, you know. Okay, there we go. Now, homeland is still home, a place where the old ones walked, including almost 5 million acres of what is now northern Idaho, eastern Washington, and western Montana. The old ones were extremely wealthy from an Indian perspective, with everything they needed close at hand. Unlike the tribes of the plains, the Coeur d'Alenes and their neighbors, the Spokanes, the Kootenays, and the Caspels, the bands of the Coralville Confederated Tribes and the Kootenai, Salish, and the Flatheads were not nomadic. Coeur d'Alene Indian villages were established along the Coeur d'Alene, St. Joe, Clark Fork, and Spokane rivers. The homeland included numerous and permanent sites on the shores of Lake Coeur d'Alene, Lake Pend, Ordell, and Hayden Lake. These tribes among themselves, and with a dozen of the tribes far away on the Pacific coast, ancient trade routes connected the Coeur d'Alenes with the Nez Perce and the Shoshones and the Bancocks and the south and southeast. To the east were the tribes of the Great Plains and the vast herds of buffalo. And there, with the coming of the horses, the Coeur d'Alene men journeyed east to buffalo hunt. These journeys, however, were not necessary for survival. Oh, I think I read all that. Huh, look at that. Michelle Can-Am Free, our love girl, is here. Much love to you. Max G, how you doing? Love and favor to all, he says. Yes, much. Oh, yeah, 9/11, 7/11. Okay. And I'm going to cross that out. And I think I did all of these that are important. So tonight we're going to talk about that book. Oh, that's what I had. I had that on there. Okay. Yeah, I'm driving the bus. And I don't need that. And oh, that's what else I had there. Okay, that's that guy. Anyway, so we're going to talk about this book. And let's see. What can I do here? I'm going to try something new. Oh, I got Oh, that ain't going to be on there. Crud. Oh, why did I do that? I closed out too many things and then I didn't have enough other things, so I should have more things. Indian. Let's put up a background while we talk. Oh, that is not a good background. Sorry about that, people. Running a little slow. Oh, that's a good one. I like this one. Anyway, there we go. I got to have some. I'm trying to do the StreamYard thing, you know, and I don't know why, but when I do the StreamYard thing, it's a little new to me, but it is kind of cool because I can really share stuff and still be in the picture, you know. Look at that. I can make a big Indian picture. Woohoo! And it'll look like them hunting them buffaloes. And then I got a special thing a little later. Anyway, we're going to talk about the Coeur d'Alene Indians and start out that part that I read about that earlier, about the first men they met were French, was wrong. It says in this book, it says the first people of record who made contact with members of the Coeur d'Alene Indian tribe and other area natives were members of the Lewis and Clark expedition, who were returning from St. Louis, Missouri after spending the winter of 1805 and 1806 at Fort Clatsop on the Oregon coast. On May 6, 1806, they reached the Clearwater River, where the present Potlatch River flows into it, and Lewis and Clark called the larger river the Coocoos Key, and later Coulter's Creek, which they named after a member of the party. See, if you're a member of the party, you get a river named after you, or a creek anyway. They came upon the encampment of the Nez Perce Indians. The chieftain of the village was called Nish-ni-pa-ki-u, or Cut Nose. We'll just go with Cut Nose because that's a lot easier for me to say. Let's see here. Soon after, some Lewis and Clark gave medical attention and treatment to various people of the village. Captain Meriwether Lewis recorded the important meetings as follows. At this place, we met with 3 men of the Squamish who resided at the falls of the river, discharging himself into the Columbia on the east side. These people are all the same dress and appearance with the Copatish, who, though their language is entirely different, a circumstance which I did not learn until we were about to set out, and it was then too late to take a vocabulary. So anyway, so they met with Lewis and Clark were some of their first meets. William Clark described the type of habitations in which natives lived. Although this description was of Nez Perce Lodge, it describes the type of buildings erected and used by Coeur d'Alene and Spokane Indians. And they used like a hut type thing covered with bent branches and so forth and so on. Clark, who was still in Cut Nose Camp, wrote, one of those lodges contained 8 families. The other was a large as we have yet seen. It was 156 feet long and with about 15 feet wide, built of mats, straw, in the form of a roof of a house, having a number of doors on each side. It is closed at the ends without divisions and intermediate space. The lodge is at least 30 families. Wow, 30 people living in a hut. Talk about close neighbors. Okay, their fires are kindled in a row in the center of the lodge and about 10 feet asunder. All the lodges of these people form in this manner. Reverend Conley, a Protestant missionary also among the Indians in Spokane, Washington, described such a lodge with his first came to fleeting among the community in 1874. Oh, that was way back then. Okay. Coeur d'Alene had mobile. They also had mobile houses. The Coeur d'Alene had mobile type housing. They had leather covered teepees that were used during hunting and berry picking seasons because of their lightweight and movability. Teepee poles were covered with deer and elk hides. The general rule, liners were made of the same material. However, after the horse made the Coeur d'Alene tribesmen more mobile and they could hunt buffalo more easily. They covered their habitations with hides of those huge beef animals. This was sensible because they overlaid such large area that it took fewer of them and less sewing to make a teepee cover. The Coeur d'Alenes were members of the Salish family of North American Indians. It is certain that Coeur d'Alene Nation and their ancestors made their homes around the Coeur d'Alene Lake and St. Joe area. Let's see. For many thousands of years they did. Their neighbors were the Spokanes, the Spokane Indians who lived to the west and on Peone and Pleasant Prairies, the Catskill, who range to the north, and the Penoral and the northeast. The Flathead inhabited the Bitterroot Valley of their east. The Nez Perce joined them to the south with a neutral strip which ensured peace between the two tribes. The southwest lands lay to the Palouse. Large cameras grounds in the Palouse County were used equally by members of the Palouse, Nez Perce, and Spokane tribes. There were 4 major bands of the Coeur d'Alenes, and they could easily be found in the following areas. Around the Coeur d'Alene, I ain't gonna go around the lakes and stuff, so forth and such. There was a village of the Coeur d'Alene encamped near Antonio Platt's ferry site in 1859. Before the then this what hits. Then, after all of that, the smallpox epidemic hits. And it hit them bad in 1859. Before the smallpox epidemic decimated them, the Coeur d'Alene Indians' population was estimated between 2,000 and 5,000. Samuel Parker, during his famous tour of the Southeast, estimated that there were 700 Coeur d'Alenes in 1835 and 1836. Wow. So, yeah, they got hit bad by the smallpox and pretty much wiped them out. Almost. Epidemics were recorded twice, in 1831 and 1832, and also around 1850. Tribal population had declined to around 500 persons by 1905. Okay, the Coeur d'Alene were quite friendly with their neighbors, the Spokanes to the lesser extent, in the Pen Orville, and the Nez Perce, and the Coeur d'Alene Indians had an unalienable reputation even among the Indians for being, during pre-missionary days. They were also difficult to deal with. Father Joseph Josette, one early Jesuit missionary among them, who could not find an interpreter who could speak their language in order to communicate with them. Father Josette said that the French and Canadians made their acquaintance and they gave them the name because their heart was like an awl. Yes, there was little intermarriage in the early days because they couldn't get anywhere because of the horses. But after 1840, it was likely marriages occurred. The physical contour of the Coeur d'Alene people were more heavily built and muscular, having a more sturdy bone structure than their neighbors, the Spokanes. The men averaged 5'7" or 5'8" inches in height, and the women an inch or two shorter. The girls were generally slim with nice features. They were faithful wives and good mothers. Okay. They dried salmon meat. They made other fish and berries, meat of the antelope. They had it all going on. Let's see, what else do I got right in? Pointed hearts. Yes. They noted they should exchange these more. Okay, so in 1809, that's when the Hudson Trading Company showed up, and they built a trading lodge for the furs and the goods. And so in September 1809, near Hodgkins's Point on Pen Orville Lake, or Real Lake, near East Hope, Idaho, they built a strong building for goods and furs and for trading with the natives. Our arrival rejoiced them very much, and their only arms were a few rude lances and flint head arrows. So they got nothing, man. They got nothing. Oh, yeah. Anyway, yeah, Cecily, as soon as gold was discovered, yeah, they lost it all. He noted, this is what the guy told him. He says he noted that they should exchange these more primitive weapons for guns, ammunition, iron arrow points. He also pointed out that in order to obtain them, they must cease gambling and begin to hunt and trap beaver and other fur-bearing animals. This they promised to do. He promised them if they did this, they would be equal in strength to their enemies. And he continued, some few distant Indians hearing on the arrival came with a few furs, but only took iron work for them. Well, anyway, he also told them that if they traded for guns, they could outshoot their enemies. And that they did. So, anyway, the Coeur d'Alene, they had oh boy, this is where things start going bad. And they go bad. So the Indian chiefs all sent some of their sons to be educated by the white man. And as they did, they sent them to the missionaries where they taught them Christianity, and they, renamed them and dressed them up like white men. And in 1825, they baptized the Indian boys. They are the sons of principal Spokane and Contolusian war chiefs, men of great weight and consequence in this part of the country. And they named them Contonusil Pelly and Spokane Gary. He named them after respective tribes and the two men prominent in his company. He called, and anyway, well, after their schooling and stuff, Pelly died, and Spokane Gary returned to his people in about 1830. He set up a primitive school, and he attempted to teach his people his tribesmen, the white religion, and their language. Of course he did. And after a while, by 1841, things weren't going very well, and Spokane Gary gave up and went back to original barbarism. He liked the Indian ways much better. Nobody wanted to hear him out. So anyway, this Governor Simpson shows up, and he realized that, hey, Spokane Gary really did teach him some English. So even though he gave up, and he taught enough English to them so that they could understand. Plus, he gave them the white man's religion. And that's where things really started going. The Nez Perce, the Flatheads, were sent to St. Louis in the 1830s to urge missionaries to come west and bring the gospel to their people. Oh, yeah, they wanted that religion. Now, after they got a little bit of it. Okay, so then, the first Jesuit mission among them was built on a point of land, and of course that was the lowland, and it flooded. So they moved the building, and in 1843 it flooded, and by 1844 they had a new church, and by 1846 they had a Father Josetti, who had come to the mission November 1845, and he became a prominent leader guy in their group. The position of the new mission was important in the early days of the travelers, because the travelers would stop by, of course. Reverend Joseph, okay. So then in 1847 and 1848, the old chief, he was fed up with this new religion, all the English language. He wanted to go back to the old ways, and Reverend Josetti threatened to move the mission away unless there was instant cooperation with the Coeur d'Alenes and his people. The Indians begged Josetti to remain among them. Please don't go, he says. They're begging him. And Josetti said, nope, you got to get rid of your chief if you want me to stay. Agreed to, and begged. Okay, so they agreed to get rid of their chief. So they got rid of their chief, and they got a new chief. And in 1853 was a year of change for the Coeur d'Alenes, because they came from many travelers came from lands all around. Then a new man, Isaac I. Stevens, was sent to the country, entrusted by the president. He had a threefold responsibility. He was a governor of the newly formed Washington state. He was a commissioner of the Indian Affairs, and he was the head of survey crew. Okay, and so he was surveying the Indians too. Okay, anyway, the Coeur d'Alene Indians are underestimated, he said. By all authorities, they have some 70 lodges and a number about 500 inhabitants. They are much indebted to the good fathers for making considerable progress in agriculture. They have abandoned polygamy. They have been taught rudiments of Christianity and greatly improved in morals and comforts in life, and indeed extraordinary. They have a splendid church from all their labors. They're putting up new range of quarters, and the Indians have some 12 comfortable cabins. The church was designed by superior skills of the missionary Pierre Rabali, a man of skill as an architect, and undoubtedly judging from his well-thumbed books of various accomplishments. So anyway, the Indians have learned to plow, so that they were being taught all kinds of stuff. They have a large cultivated field of some 200 acres and a prairie of from 2,000 to 3,000 acres. They own 100 pigs, 8 yokes of oxen, 20 cows, and a liberal portion of horses, mules, and young animals. The Indians have learned to plow, sow, and till the soil generally, and milk cows with both hands. They do the duties of farming. They are some of the expert woodcutters, and they can harvest firewood and cut trails. Okay. Let's see. John McStanley, an artist who accompanied the survey party, made a sketch of the mission buildings and property, which later appeared in volume of the Pacific Railroad Reports. In 1855, by the same Governor Stevens, called a meeting to the aerial tribal leaders to the Walla Walla Valley to discuss meaning place them on reservations. Okay, so by 1855, they're getting ready to put them on reservations. They're like, they're doing real good, but we got to snub them down. It seemed incredible, but they did. And the Nez Perce, the Yamakas, the Unamala, and they were forced onto reservations. And the measures were taken well, you know what that caused? That caused a full-fledged war began. The emissaries were sent. The neighboring tribes were asked for assistance. As a result, the hostility spread. Many coastal tribes became immersed. The middle Cascades where a fort was attacked. Major Granville Owen Halter was defeated in the Yamaka country. These reversals were followed by U.S. military victories that forced the natives to a sullen surrender and an uneasy peace in 1856. Wow. It seems like every year something's going on. Well, anyway, another exponent of peaceful means to overcome their problems was Spokane Gary, who had been educated by the Red River Colony, now Winnipeg, Canada. He urged nonviolence. Of course he did. He was taught by the whites. Oh boy. But war was averted for a little bit of time. Of course, feelings of distrust and then became stronger. And guess what happened? Gold was discovered. Oh yeah, we got to get rid of this picture now, boys and girls. Whew. Gold was discovered, and you know what happens when gold is discovered? Oh boy. Yeah. That means the white man comes, and I'm trying to find a good one for this. But anyway, I got to find a new picture, boys and girls. Yeah. White men come, and then they do this one. And we'll do this one. There you are. Yeah, we'll do that. This sounds good. This is a little bit better. To share. They make these buttons way too small. Okay. And there we go with our new picture. So anyway, gold was discovered. And of course, because gold was discovered, everything went to crap. And the people are moving in, wanting to do the gold. And look there's Big Al. Hey, Al, thanks for coming. I know you're probably wishing, oh yeah, you were on, no, you're on vacation. You were, maybe not. Anyway, as the mineral discovery spread, white settlements came in, and a new fort was being built in Walla Walla Valley. The Indians questioned why this fort was being built if peace was decided. Whites were showing their strength. This was alarming news indeed. And of course, what do you think that meant? The Indians were riled up. Okay, and Nez Perce and all of them decided to band their men together to start a war and get rid of the whites, of course. At any rate, the Coeur d'Alene Indians assembled their men for a confrontation that was begin with the repercussions that have lasted into the present day. The Coeur d'Alenes and other area tribes were not only the people involved in these identical problems, and they were fighting against this guy, Lieutenant Edward Jenner Steptoe. And he had began receiving reports in 1858. And so, because of the gold discoveries on the Columbia River, herds of horsemen, 13 cattle were property of the United States government were taken. The natives were growing restless, and around Fort Colville, the great movement of gold seekers in the area and exhibited unfriendly feelings to the non-Indians who lived in around the post. Colonel Steptoe took a group of men and tried to get back this property that was taken. Steptoe decided to take some men and investigate these reports. He did not realize how close to the breaking point the natives were. He seemed to have planned to solve the problems peacefully by means he was poorly prepared, put it that way. After wait for his cavalry horses arrived in Vancouver, and he had 158 men and set out on a later trip. In May 6, 1858, He went to the north side of the Snake River. He crossed on Wolf's Crossing with some help from the Indians, the Palouse Indians. He reached Red Wolf's Crossing without undue incident, where friendly Nez Perce Indians helped crossing his entire entourage. Steptoe recognized his column and proceeded northward. Steptoe's command reached the Palouse River. It was met by a small party of Indians. These people told the Spokane would resist entry into their lands. It was a staggering surprise to him because Steptoe had always considered the Spokane friendly to the whites. Okay, they camped the night virtually in the shadow of the present city of Rosalia, Washington, on the west bank of the Grossman Creek. So if you know where that is in Washington, that's where it was. What is this vacation I hear of talk of? We were all on vacation. Yeah, 2 weeks off. Got a cab of this my first week. Good for you. Gaza Cab's on vacation too. Yeah, I loved my vacation. I had a great vacation. Let's see, I have oh, Courtney, good deal. Okay, so anyway, Steptoe orders. This is where it starts getting really interesting. Steptoe ordered his party into the thing. There was a dispute, almost miraculous escape engineered, and the party rode southward west to Walla Walla after the troops were being fired upon. Friendly Nez Perce helped the weary and chased troops recross the Snake River. So Steptoe was defeated, and the Indians were happy. But the next day, on May 23rd, 1858, Steptoe apprised the headquarters of the predicament. And of course, see, you shoot a couple of the cavalrymen, and they go back home. They buzz like bees. They gather up hundreds of men, and off they go. So they waited a while. They waited and waited and waited until Colonel George Wright was given the command of an entire expedition. He was well fitted with the job. He was a veteran of the Mexican War and the several Indian engagements. Some have fought the Northwest Indians War of 1855 and 1856. On August 4th, 1858, a large delegation of Nez Perce Indians assembled nearby and signed a treaty of peace and friendship between the nation and the United States. Of course they did. And on August 3rd, his forces were enough to defeat the northern tribes, so he issued order number 3 and launched the expedition on its way. Okay, so he had Captain Keyes with him. Of course, they crossed the Snake River, bringing lots of supplies. They joined the others at Fort Taylor. The total party, now listen to this, they went out to defeat these Indians, and this is what they brought: 190 dragoons, which is the infantrymen on horse, 400 artillerymen, 90 infantrymen trained as a brigade. They were approximately 200 packers, herders, teamsters, etc. There were 6 mules to accompany and a mule for each officer. The quartermaster had 325 mules in his train, making a total of 400 mules. Adding together these and the horses of the dragoons, there was a total of 700 animals in the company. There were supplies and ample provisions for a 40-day expedition. Captain Keyes seemed to think that there was a scarcity of ammunition, but was only one of who mentioned the fact. Accompanying the expedition was a party of 30 Nez Perce Indians under the leadership of Lieutenant John Mullen. These friendly natives were hired to act as guides. Okay, so a storm prevented them from attacking. They hunted down the Indian tribe that was, preparing for, they were warring with. To sum this up, and they did to disperse the Indians. The command was to set out to disperse the Indians who fled. And of course, they fled. The natives, on the other hand, had other plans. However, the following morning, they were sent to gathering upon a hill about 2 miles northeast of the campsite. Rafe decided to dislodge them from this position and with his fighting force. Of course, he did. He shows up, and they see he ordered a major
Geyer with his 2 companies of dragoons to move north and east around the base of the hill. This is where it gets exciting. Attack the Indians. They were driven to the top of the hill by foot soldiers. Meanwhile, Colonel Wright and his artillery and rifle battalion up the hill, now known as Battle Butte. I don't know if any of you have been to Battle Butte. After they reached the top of the hill, the following exchange just mentioned. The troops saw an unforgettable sight below. Their feet lay on 4 lakes. Okay, so the armies were attacking, and they met. Okay, but then they were attacking the Indians, and the artillery and infantrymen were ordered to charge down the hill to dislodge the Indians from their hiding places. It was anticipated they would drive the natives into open, where the dragoons' attack would more effectively against them. The move was executed with precision. As soon as the soldiers came within 600 yards of the Indians, they directed their withering fire on them, which proved deadly as much greater distance. Because the defenders had the cavalry now had a new rifle. They had a new rifled musket that fired a French mini ball and was everything that the military had anticipated. Its firepower created havoc and consternation among at once an amazing distance its bullets fired and carried, and the impact it made when it reached its victims. The natives fell. Their friends picked them up and slain or wounded and carried them out of range of the fire. Their own returning shots were ineffectual because of the great distance between combat forces. See, they got a better weapon and to defeat their enemies. The 2 armies soon joined battle, and so forth and so on. The fighting was great. Men fell. They were fighting so hard. Their horses, tired from a long march northward, unable to continue the pursuit, the infantry marched past them and continued the chase for 2 more miles. Many of the men fell from exhaustion. A howitzer shell burst over the heads of several Indians and left them disperse them. And so forth. The battlefield was dotted with signs of battle. The Indians ran off so fast that they left their muskets, their bows, their arrows, blankets, robes, and lances as they ran. It was reported that 17 Indians were killed and 40 to 50 had been wounded, where none of Wright's men there was no casualties in Wright's company. Anyway, the Nez Perce scouts concluded the day with a war dance. No doubt the drumming and chanting kept some of the men awake, but others who were bone tired heard it only as sweet as lullabies. Okay, 685 men against the Wright's forces of 680 fighting men against the consolidated Indian warriors, various estimated at 500 to 1,000 men. Captain Keyes reported that during the ebb and flow of the battle, his battle line often extended over a mile in length. Can you imagine? And tell the men down there a mile away. Okay, engagements took place on small hills which dotted the prairie. The Indians attacked wherever they saw signs of weakness. The entire battle was hard-hitting, fluid successions of ferries and prairies. Keyes called the battle a curious one. Okay, the Indians sought shelter in trees that lined the prairie. But Lieutenant White ordered the howitzer unit to drop some shots among them. He killed one of the chiefs, and he wounded their leader, Camiskin, and they hit a tree and broke a limb off, which struck him in the head, wounding him. Okay, a few disaffected Nez Perce Indians that were with the cavalry joined the tribesmen and helped them out. So you got the Indians who were helping you out, the hired scouts switching sides. The next day, the Indians the next day, so they had a lot of fighting. A bunch of them got killed. The Indians came, they camped, they professed friendship. And of course, guess who's there? Spokane Gary along with them. By September 7th, they started making a treaty. Gary professed deep friendship for the whites and volunteered the fact that he had tried unsuccessfully to dispute the other chiefs and the young men from taking up arms against the whites. Colonel Wright demanded unconditional surrender. of all the persons involved in the war and the total extermination of those who did not accede to his wishes. Wow. Yeah. Wright told Gary to tell all the Indians he met what his demands were and ordered him to send messengers to Moses, Big Star, Polkin, Campkin, and other chieftain with the request that their people met. So anyway, most of them surrendered and so forth. And there was a bunch of other stuff going on. And of course, guess who gets involved? Father Josette, a Jesuit minister who tried unsuccessfully all summer to dissuade the Coeur d'Alene from matching arms with the military. Oh yeah, he was there too. Well, let's see. Before closing the then of course they surrendered and signed a treaty with Captain Keyes in September 23rd, 1858. So this wasn't very long. It was pretty much the whole summer. And by that time, they surrendered. And they signed a treaty. And that was that. Wrights demanded unconditional surrender as the case of the Coeur d'Alenes and promised no reprisals among them if his wishes were respected. Okay, so we're going to skip over a little bit of this. This is where it gets bad. So then they put them on the reservations. And I'll just go by some of the dates here. On May 18th, 1859, the chiefs of General Indian Affairs discussed the mutual problems were being solved. And following this, the Indian leaders were accorded with highest honors and treatment possible while they were there in the area. For the period of, so they gathered up. Now listen to this. So to show how powerful the white man was, they went ahead and they gathered up a bunch of the chiefs and they took them to the coast. Now remember, on the coast, the boats were coming in and they were building a society of quite immense stature by this time. By 1859, remember the gold rush was in 1848, so the West Coast was really getting modernized. So they gathered up a bunch of the chiefs in 1859, took them to, gave them the royal carpet treatment, took them to the state of Oregon and the territory of Washington. And here they were shown blacksmith shops, manufacturing, printing establishments, steam engines, river boats, and every type of industry to be seen during those times. They were also shown a prison in Portland in which prisoners were chained to their cells. The chiefs were principally interested in the causes, motives, and duration of their imprisonment. And when the chiefs got back, they were disturbed. They said, we're going to do everything we can for the whites because we don't want to go to that prison. Believe it or not. And on March 3rd, 1863, the Coeur d'Alene tribe boundary was changed because of some of their land became part of the newly created territory of Idaho. This fact made no difference to the actual size of the reservation, but only in administration. Okay, although the Coeur d'Alene lands remain intact, their neighbors, the Nez Perce, saw their reservation reduced in 1863 to an influx of gold mines which within the tribal limits. 4 years later, on June 6, 1867, the Coeur d'Alene Reservation, which had only been an empirical thing prior to this, became an actuality and the boundaries were described completely. Things seem to have run smoothly for the next 10 years on the Coeur d'Alene Reservation. During the Nez Perce Wars of 1870, the Coeur d'Alenes refused to join the hostiles and gave great aid to the citizens of Farmington. So the people really loved them. And that was good. They treated them with lots of respect. By 1882, the Coeur d'Alene had broken 5,000 acres of land and placed it under cultivation. They had built many comfortable homes for themselves. And the newly built church was dedicated to De Smet and Roman Catholic bishop. Coeur d'Alenes were becoming more independent in government aid as years passed. The farm's cattle herds were very productive. Let's see. Sidney Waters, a agent, reported that Coeur d'Alenes were each farming 200 acres of land and doing an excellent job of it. These Coeur d'Alenes had real reason for anxiety because they lost well-worked farms, so the whites were moving in. In his report on August 12, 1886, Indian agent Benjamin Moore mentioned that the Coeur d'Alenes were self-supporting and doing well. Again, the kindness of the Coeur d'Alenes during the Nez Perce Indian War was soon forgotten because 9 years later, white settlers petitioned the federal government to dissolve the reservation, saying this is where it is. The whites get greedy and want more land. Okay. They spoke to Agent Moore about it, and he reassured the chief, no, they ain't going to do that. But so much, that's the white man's word. Captain John Mullen wrote in a letter in 1885 to Father Joseph Cato, voices doubts about the Coeur d'Alene Reservation could survive. So there you go. White settlers had moved into the Coeur d'Alene lands and taken possession of everything except their lands within the boundaries of the reservation. So people were coming in left and right. Valuable minerals and constant westward expansion for the Caucasian race made some Indian lands practically untenable. So all of a sudden, they needed, well, of course, if the whites move in, what do they want? They want timber to build wood houses. And because the Indians owned all the territory with the wood, the whites were mad. They wanted the timber. So they reduced their lands even more. So they signed off more of their lands. Many of the tribes were approached by the federal government, which, with the same proposition, relinquishing some of their lands for certain indictments. They gave them money. By February 23rd, 1887, found the route. Oh, now they want to put a train route through to the west. And they let them put the train route through. Okay, in 1887, the Spokanes were adamant and they should have a reservation on a Little Spokane River and they should be recompensated for the lost lands. The government said, no, there's plenty of homesteaders and squatters there and you can't have your land, and they kicked them off. And they said, well, so the Coeur d'Alenes group was getting small. They only had 500 to 700 people in their group. So they mixed the Spokanes and a bunch of the other tribes on the Coeur d'Alene reservation to make it look like there was more Indians on the reservation, because with 500 people and 500,000 acres, didn't seem right to the whites to keep them there. So they brought in more Indians. So now you got all these tribes living on this group. The government also offered to give them $5,000. And then they provided another treaty. They gave 6 Spokane chiefs were to receive $100 per year for the next 10 years. 4 of the chiefs were sold that they were unable to support themselves. So now the government is already giving them money. In March 26, 1887, an agreement was reread and translated to the Coeur d'Alenes about their land and the commissions of their people, and they had to re-sign. They were provided monetary provisions for the loss of their land, and the government gave them needed money for their improvements on their reservation. By January and February 1888, a deadly epidemic of scarlet fever and measles struck the tribes. It was particularly fatal among the tribes, resulting in and around Nesflim and among the lower Spokanes. Because of the lack of the hospital facilities, a lot of them died. The Coeur d'Alenes were lucky, and they were struck by the same epidemic, but they had a physician on hand. Okay. Most Coeur d'Alenes were adamant to the white teachings by the Catholic priests and nuns. Yeah, those church people come in there and taught them all kinds of stuff. Tribe with the sutra. Yes. Yes, the Coeur d'Alene is a French name that was given to them, meaning their heart was the tip of an awl, sharp as an awl. There you go. Yes, that's exactly it. So anyway, the Coeur d'Alenes, they were a tough tribe. They survived that. Statistically, it says there were 520 members in the tribe at this time. So after surviving all of that, by 1888, 1889 here, you're up to 520 members. That's it. And they nearly all wore citizen dress. 125 of them could read English, and 310 could speak it well enough to make themselves understood. There were 6,000 acres of land under cultivation, 360,000 acres of tillable land on the reservation. 25,000 of these were fenced. At the end of the season, 40,000 bushels of wheat and 11,000 bushels of oats and barley were harvested, and the energetic natives 2,610 bushels of vegetables, 1,500 tons of hay were gathered, 250 pounds of butter were churned to tickle the palate. 2,000 cords of wood were cut for fuel. Remember, they didn't have chainsaw. The proud tribe now owned 3,205 horses and mules, 1,200 cattle, 1,500 swine, 100 head of sheep. There were also 1,200 domestic fowl on the reservation. Okay, so they were doing pretty good. Then, perhaps the discovery of the largest gold nugget near Murray, Idaho, was responsible for the fact that the treaty signed in 1887 was not ratified by Congress. And the Indian appropriation of March 22nd, 1889, had provisions, and this is where it goes downhill. And the Coeur d'Alene's couldn't get their land. Their treaty wasn't ratified. They were renegotiated with the Kalispels and the Spokanes and the upper and middle bands. And okay, well, anyway, the negotiations were still on offering on a letter dated May 31st, 1889. So things were going over transmitted. Okay, things weren't good. And they were renegotiating their reservation because guess what? They were being taken to the cleaners. More and more people wanted that land. And of 598,000 acres in the reserve, there were 360 acres of tillable land, which of 6,000 cultivated. I read all of that. Okay. And let's see, they proved, two white men were employed by the agency. They combined salaries amount $2,100 in the annual fees. The wheels of progress were gaining momentum. 20,000 acres of tribal land were now fenced. 7,500 acres were under cultivation, making a mammoth improvement of 14,000 acres over the former figure of 1,500. Now, you remember, they didn't have tractors. So, go figure. Their productive inventory would be incomplete without 2,000 melons, 300 pumpkins. They raised 1,400 tons of hay were cut to help feed the growing herd of livestock, which now numbered 1,200 horses, 2 mules, 400 cattle, 400 swine, 500 fowl, contributed their share of eggs. Let's see, by 1867, 1873, okay. Agreements signed in 1887 and 1889 were still in Congress, where year 1891 began. Of course, they still hadn't signed anything. When Congress ratified both documents, along with those anxious Indian nations, with their passage, approximately 185,000 acres of Coeur d'Alene tribal lands were transferred to the public domain. These lands were open for settlement, and almost as soon as the act was approved, one provision of the act stated that the lands could be obtained only through homestead entry. So, again, it was shrunk. So each member, the government gave the tribe $500,000 for 185,000 acres of land. Okay, so they gave the members money. They signed the treaty. Of course, they keep signing these darn treaties. And the Coeur d'Alene moved to smaller chunks. 1890 shows steadily improvement of tillable lands. Okay, and as it goes, they were okay. So after all of that, by 1909, after their reservation was reduced, in 1909, they were given 160 acres per person. That's what they were given. And they were trying to get rid of the reservation. And they, see, the Indian Congress passed on 1897 prohibiting the sale. Oh, and Congress passed, can you believe this? Congress passed an act on January 30th, 1897, prohibiting the sale of intoxicants to Indians. So you couldn't sell liquor to the Indians. And on August, the impact on the lives of people, according to So anyway, in 1909, the government lands were open for settlement in 1909. Prior to this mentioned previous act, and every Indian man and woman and child in the United States had been allotted 160 acres of land to his choice. A member of the family representing the children selected their parcels of land. After they gave all those Indians a parcel of land, there was still 1,044 parcels left. And in that case, they had a raffle. And they raffled all these chunks of land off, and you had to pay a nominal fee of $20 or something to get it. And then you had to homestead it for a few years, and then you had to have documentation, pay another $6 or something like that to say that you've lived there and you have witnesses you lived there and you have neighbors and such and such. And after that, you own the land. So they gave away all the Indian land. And that is what happened to the Coeur d'Alene. So by 1909, but anyway, I guess they still have some sort of reservation of some sorts. And where am I doing on my time? Oh boy, yeah, 1 hour exactly. Wow, you guys are sticking with me. Good night. Anyway, hit that like button. Support Brother Robert and his efforts. Right, Courtney? Oh boy. Anyway, I got a good one for you tonight. I met with this guy at the museum. Oh, where is this? Here it is. This guy. And I talked with him, and we talked a little bit about Indians and stuff. And since David Null ain't here tonight, we're going to listen to this guy and my adventure at the museum. And here we go. This is my adventure at the museum.
Okay. You could, if you were a sizable individual, how far and how long could you throw a spear? How effective?
Maybe 50 feet?
Saying, yeah, could you bring down a bear?
Oh, probably not.
Probably not.
No.
So the advantage has to be to the hunter. Now, I take issue with a lot of our educational people that don't seem to get the thing. Early day bison. Now, I might be just jumping a little bit, but roughly speaking was about 8 to 9 feet at the shoulder. Okay? No bow and arrow is around is going to bring that down. So what you want is here's these are modern day hay, but you have spears, okay? And then those are ladle shafts. And here's your little device. You take the shaft and it will hook in right there. And then you literally like you're swatting a fly. And they would generate speeds of up to 100 miles an hour on that.
Yeah, and that's where you get your power.
Well, and it would bring down the size of a creature. Now you'll notice this thing has the rock on it. Another gentleman is deceased now, but those are ladle blades. He had 2 or 3 of them that were about that long and about the diameter of my thumb. The little rings around where they would tie them on to the ladle thrower, okay, to create torque.
Oh,
so those guys, as primitive as we like to think they were, actually were fairly good engineers.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is say this, for instance, this bow.
Yeah.
You know, how far can that bow shoot compared to the ones we have now? The ones we have now are compound bows. You barely pull them back. They fire a long ways. They got the aluminum shaft arrows. Metal tips with lightweight titanium, and there you got a stick with a stone on it or a piece of metal.
Right. Now, case in point. Okay, let's look at. All right, so these are. Okay, see these right here. Okay, that right there is an arrowhead. These are at ladle points because they will not fly on a shaft. They're too big.
Yeah.
Too heavy. But we collectively call them arrowheads, but technically that's obviously not correct.
Okay.
The larger ones that are equal in thickness or width as most people thumb are indeed Atlanta pointers.
Now, here's a question for you.
Yeah.
And maybe you know, and I was told this before, is if you, like, see the arrow is tied onto the spear there?
Yeah.
Now, if they were told, I was told that if they stuck it in, those were tied on so that they could stick it in, break it off, tie a new one on real quick. That way, they didn't, because you can't pull it out. You pull it out, you're jamming it in.
What they had were darts.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. See the one at the bottom of that big tall one?
Yes.
The last 6-8 inches with the white stone piece on it is a dart.
Mm-hmm.
So they would carry 2 or 3 of those shafts,
Mm-hmm.
one of those,
Mm-hmm.
and probably 8 or 10 darts.
Mm-hmm.
All the data I've ever read where they found early day mammoth kills,
Mm-hmm.
I think the most points that I remember reading about was 7.
Oh. Mm-hmm. So
that a little bit, but you kind of say, they got the job done at 7 or less points.
Mm-hmm.
So they were pretty effective hunters.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, they knew where to hit them.
So I don't know if I can answer your question. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, the thing is when you stuff it in there and then say that it's a live animal, you would stuff it in,
Yeah,
break it up.
How close do you want to get to one of those creatures?
Well, you don't. I mean,
So what I'm getting at, you have to have the advantage to the hunter.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of beat coolies or coolies where it was difficult for a large creature to turn around, that would be easy pickings, if you would.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I would say, I read where they would be, today, of course, just the mere throwing of it is like 800 some 70 feet, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But you'd want to probably be 30 meters.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
So they had to be pretty dang effective at what they were doing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
I don't know. So, anyway,
Interesting.
spears, the early day idea of using a spear, I say hardcore.
Yeah.
How effective could you be?
Yeah, because you got to be pretty close for a spear. You
I
got
just
to.
tell my granddaughter, there's a kill on the Rio Grande River called the Bonfire Shelter.
Mm-hmm.
In the kill, now listen to some of these skeletons they pull out. Sloth, camel, short-faced bear,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Mammoth, dire wolf,
Mm-hmm.
saber-toothed tiger,
Mm-hmm.
early day bison, all in the same jump.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
those are sizable creatures.
Oh, yeah.
So,
They were,
yeah,
but that was a certain spot, a very good spot for them.
well, it's on the Rio Grande, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they use it for a long period of time. Now, here's another thing. This may not ring up most people. But, okay, see the hammer.
Mm-hmm.
That one's pretty good size. Look at this one.
Mm.
What the heck are you gonna use that? You're not gonna pound nails with those.
No.
Okay, I like to say this, and I'm not saying I'm correct, but I'm sticking to it until someone shows me different. The size of the equipment is indicative to the size of the person using it and the creature upon which it was used.
Kind of like having an elephant gun.
Could be.
Yeah. You don't
So I think some of those people were sizably bigger than us.
Yeah, because to pick up a hammer like that, what do you
Well,
want?
it's just too cumbersome to use.
Yes, I agree.
I have a chopper, that's like that thing right there,
Mm-hmm.
that assault chopper,
Mm-hmm.
and that one right there. See it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the big black one.
Yeah. I have a chopper that's this long
Mm-hmm.
and that wide.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my two hands would still make it very cumbersome to effectively use that. So,
Who's using it?
stones don't lie.
Stones don't lie. Plus, you got to put a handle on it.
Yeah.
And then you're lifting it up. What are you going to lift it up with two hands? Like,
Yeah. The missus is going to need that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and then, like you said, you got these hammers. What are you doing with a giant? What are you going to do with a hammer? I mean, you have no nails.
Yeah.
What are you pounding?
They would stake their stuff down and write stuff up with it or whatever, you know. but it wasn't a carving rock to make tools with. That's a different sort of stone.
Mm-hmm.
So all I'm just pointing out is when you look at these things, you have to be a little bit more discerning and ask yourself questions.
Yeah.
Okay?
Practicality.
Yeah. These guys were not stupid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like,
They built things that were effective for them.
besides that, carrying that giant hammer around, lugging it from place to place.
And that's where it all weightlifting.
Yeah, well, that and all your other stuff. I know when I go camping, I take lightweight equipment because I don't want to lug it around.
Exactly.
But why would you take a 20-pound hammer and then, pull that around?
Okay, and then later on you get to where you're, okay, like that point right there is an Alberta point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that comes off of a culture that would include the Eden, the Scottsbluff, and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so obviously that point right there is a utility point, and it would not never ever be called an arrowhead. It's an lateral point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so look at the size of that thing.
Yeah, it's big.
So, what kind of size of the guy using it? What was he like?
Yeah.
See? So I don't know. There's lots of there's more questions than answers.
Well, there are lots of myths of giants, and stuff like that they have, and so the question is were those giants around, and are the artifacts we're finding are from some of them and the Indians, and then we're mixing them together and saying, well, there are no giants, so then they have to be.
Well, I'll use and I'm not doing this by design, but I'll just say that we've all read the story of David and Goliath.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Goliath was reported to be approximately 9'9". He was not, if you read in scripture, David was not a Goliath at this guy's size.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously he was one familiar with that kind of size guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he told Saul, we always think David would be a little guy. He said he was the youngest of the family.
Yes.
He didn't say he was the smallest.
Yes, they always portray those.
Yeah, that's correct. David said, well, I killed a bear and a lion with the help of the Lord with my bare hands.
Mm-hmm.
Now you keep that lion from disemboweling you. David had to be a sizable individual to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Had to have a large,
Yeah, he was strong.
arm.
Mm-hmm.
So how big was he? How tall was he, rather? I don't know. 7'5", 7'6"?
Could be.
Could have been.
Yeah, muscular.
I mean, yeah, he was no shrimp.
Mm-hmm.
But we sort of don't, again, we're not discerning when we do, we check these things out.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of hidden facts.
There's a lot of data there that you have to look at. It's not stated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the same with these guys here. They left their data right there in front of us.
Yeah, but
We have difficulty trying to interpret.
but the thing is we put it all in the same cabinet, and then we say, well, that's all Indian stuff.
Yeah, it was early day.
That's right.
Early day, man.
Exactly. Because can you tell the difference between the date on that stone and the date on these stones? I mean, it's like, well, it could be 500 or 1,000 years. Stones are stones.
And we'll notice that even though there is some cultures that vary a little bit in, style or whatever, or effectiveness, apparently they were very knowledgeable on how to make tools.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, this may be something you know, maybe something you don't know. Let me see here. This one right here, this is difficult to say, but it's kind of clear.
Mm-hmm.
Those are agates.
Mm-hmm.
All right? And an agate is calcite, and on the most hard scale, about 7.
Mm-hmm.
You have to heat treat it to effectively have it.
Really?
To nail it. Otherwise, it's too hard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So they do that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, other stones like we call them porcelainite, I don't see one of that off the bat here, or obsidian, those are already heated. But in your country, night river flint comes off the top layer of the coal beds. Over in Dodge, North Dakota, there's lots of chunks of Knife River just laying around.
Yeah, I've been to Knife River. I've been to Dodge.
That stone is already a heel. It's ready to dip. Ready to nap.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, well, I just say,
Cool.
they do that.
Yeah.
See, and they had to pass that data down. So,
Yeah, somebody knew that stuff.
yeah, you bet.
Very cool. Very
So,
cool.
well, whatever.
No, it's good stuff. I mean, people don't think of that.
Well, because if you're not, one, you have to have an interest in it. If you're not interested in it, you wouldn't possibly think about it. And two, we all tend to get to a point where, well, we think we know everything. We've got all about stuff, so why worry about it? But then along comes something makes you start thinking, whatever. So, okay, now, here's the level. Okay, what I'm talking about is the shaft. See this shaft? It comes right out.
Oh, yeah.
Are you with me?
Yes.
They would carry a half dozen or so of these things,
Maybe that's what
two or three of these. This would stick in the creature.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah.
Okay? Period.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Yeah, because then it sticks in there and grinds around while, killing the
Well, yeah,
creature.
whatever. Now, see, this obsidian is from over in Oregon country, black and white, black and red. Okay, do you understand the idea
Yes.
of the lava point?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, because you can carry a handful of those and only one.
Well, as I said, reading the data about them math kills, the most that they reported on, maybe they found more, never said 7 points. And those are close points. That would be these guys right here.
Yeah.
Which some of those were probably 6 to 8 or more inches. Again, size of the equipment, indicative to
The user and what he's
and the
using.
creature. You wouldn't kill a rabbit with that.
No.
So, but you would with probably a small arrowhead
Oh, yeah.
or a stunner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Now I do have a point that is rounded.
Okay, well, I guess that was the end of that. Like I said, oh man. Anyway, so much for that. I hope you enjoyed that little tidbit. That was a lot of fun. That guy was so nice. That was in Harleton, Montana. Nice little museum there. I really enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun. Anyway, let's see. You guys are talking about Hawkeye. Yes. Let's give a minute of favor and healing energy to Hawkeye, David Null, and send him some good measure tonight. How about we all do that? Okay, everybody with me? And we will, I don't have a candle here. I should have a candle. I don't have, oh yeah, I do. I have my candle, but I don't have anything to light it with. Oh yes, I do. Oh, I got something here. Where's my little fancy lighter thingy-mabobber? Yeah, I probably lost it. I had one, but anyway. Okay, well, we'll just not do that. But anyway, let's send Hawkeye some healing energy. Okay, everybody with me? Close your eyes. Be real quiet. Okay, I don't know if that was a minute or not because I wasn't keeping track. But anyway, there you go. Hawkeye, I hope you get better if you're watching this. Thank you for all that you do around here. You're much appreciated. we all miss you tonight, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you next time. Next journey around. Besides that, I wanted to show you a few things. I got me some new animal cards, and I was going to show them off tonight, but anyway, later. Yes, Courtney. Can't wait to go to Montana. I'll see you one day. Of course you will. Oh, yeah, sure. You get anywhere out this way, I'll take a day off and meet up with you. Said, yes, exactly. Sending him lots of healing energy. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming. And, we'll do this all again next week. Don't forget to share and like this. Let's grow this channel. Put a comment down below. Where YouTube tries to push this out a little more. I'm going to do a few more shorts and things like that. So anyway, comment underneath, share, reply to somebody's comment, and I'll get on there and comment back. And the more we do of that, the more YouTube will spread this wonderful message out there to the people of the world. And I enjoy bringing you these Native American myths and legends every week. And little tidbits like that. I got a couple more. I didn't want to spoil them all on one show, Remember, everybody, to go out there, say some nice things to people, do some nice things, smile at your neighbor, wave at them and say hello and how you doing. Do something on that order. I got to concentrate to do that myself sometimes. Sometimes I just get all toiled up in my own little world and I forget about everybody else. And I got to remember we're all one people and we're all together in this. And, we may be experiencing things on our own part, but some way or another, we got to work with everybody else. And in these days and troubled times, who knows how much longer we got to be friendly here or friendly anywhere and have all the things that we know and love work just the way we want them to. Anyway, yes, Courtney, you have to you're going to spread your dad's ashes in the mountains. What a great thing. Thank you all for coming. Gaza Cav, Mark, Mary Wins, Courtney, Max G, Witchy Moon, Jules, thank you for coming. Everybody that was in the chat room, S. Lee, I hope I didn't miss somebody. Scotty Boy. Okay. Anyway, I think I got everybody who I can see. Anyway, thank you all. Remember, be the frequency you want to receive. I love you all, everybody. Peace.